No one was home. Even though he works from home, I couldn't believe my daughter's words and glanced at my husband with suspicion. I wonder if he is hiding something. He's not even responding to my messages. What could he have been doing? I will get to the bottom of this. My name is Chelsea. The other day, at 35 years old, I experienced my first bout of lower back pain. I've heard it hurts whether you're standing, lying down, or sitting, and it's true. Going to the bathroom or taking a bath was excruciating. It made me realize how important my back is. If only I had a little more strength than I do now. About 3 years ago, I lived happily with my husband Harold and our elementary school daughter Diane, but things started to feel off in our marriage. It seems my husband has been in frequent contact with someone. He's so attached to his phone. It's like he's a high school girl sneaking it into the bathroom. He used to forget his phone at work often. I quickly noticed a drastic change in him. I thought about divorcing him, but we have a kid, and divorcing over one affair seems extreme. Fortunately, even if my husband's love for me has waned, he still adores our child. I refuse to accept that cheating is just something men do, but if it's not serious, maybe I can overlook a one-time mistake. Then, that's when Corona hit. Due to the lockdowns, my husband began working from home according to his company's policy. Meanwhile, as someone who works part-time as a cashier at the supermarket, there was no option for me to work from home. I continued going out to work. Naturally, my husband started helping more with household chores, and I began to see this situation as positive for our family. One of my colleagues at work mentioned, a fair partner gets infected. And now that I think about it, my husband has been spending less time on his phone. My husband used to sneak around and cheat behind my back, but ever since Corona became a thing, he's become remarkably quiet. Maybe he is afraid of getting caught. Perhaps their affair naturally fizzled out due to the pandemic. I thought I was lucky, but my husband's behavior changed again around autumn that year. Despite still working diligently from home, he began doing laundry frequently. He claimed he had to change clothes because he sweated so much. But did he really need to change outfits every day? Since he's home alone, couldn't he just stay in his sweaty clothes? He used to be such a laid-back person. So what changed? Not only did he change clothes frequently, but he also started paying attention to his hairstyle. Even though he's home all day, he's styling his hair with a styling gel. He's already middle-aged, so trying to look younger just makes him look tacky, or like he's too slick. Plus, he never even shows his face during the online meetings. Who exactly is he trying to impress with his styled hair at home? I hate to ask, but you're not cheating, are you? My husband responded in a flustered voice. Huh? Why would I suddenly do that? But he's clearly nervous. His words are stumbling. His excuse sounds flimsy. So this has to confirm his guilt, right? Now, how do I gather evidence? He won't show me his phone, so catching him in the act might be the best option. But maybe because I've been considering the possibility of cheating all along, I wasn't shocked. Instead, I felt a slight thrill as I contemplated how to corner my husband. Maybe I was still subconsciously optimistic. Surely, my husband would come back to me, and I could assert my position as the rightful wife, ensuring he never cheated again. I brainstormed ways to catch my husband cheating. Then one day, an incident occurred. I received a call from an unknown number while at work. It was urgent. It was my husband, informing me that Diana had collapsed and was being taken to the hospital in an ambulance. That day, the school called to say Diana had a high fever, so I was waiting for updates. I wanted to rush to pick her up, but I couldn't leave work early due to staff shortages caused by the pandemic. He claimed he was in a meeting, so I couldn't reach him. I sent a message about Diana's fever, but no one was available to pick her up immediately. I asked if they could let her rest in the infirmary until I finished work. But an ambulance? Did she really collapse at school? My husband sounded panicked on the phone earlier, so I didn't know what was going on, but I felt uneasy. I rushed to the hospital where my husband and daughter were supposedly heading. When I arrived, Diana seemed fine, able to respond properly despite being feverish, and even managed to smile. Thank goodness. The doctor mentioned that if Diana had collapsed at school, my husband would have been with her in the ambulance. It was my first time experiencing such a situation, and I didn't know how the school would respond, but that's usually the case. Diana nodded. Yeah, Daddy rode in the ambulance with me. Oh, so Dad picked you up? Nope. Then what's going on? My husband avoided eye contact. Where exactly did you collapse? At the front door of our house. Why there? I felt really lonely, so I secretly left school and came home. Hearing this, I glanced at my phone and saw several missed calls from the school. So that's what happened. Diana has a habit of seeking comfort from others when she's feeling lonely due to a fever. She had never had a fever at school before, which was unexpected. I need to apologize to the school. And she collapsed at the front door. No one was home, even though Dad works from home? He never heard the intercom. I rang it multiple times. My daughter isn't to blame. She's right. She did nothing wrong. If anyone's at fault, it's likely my husband, who's turning paler by the second. Actually, the paramedics mentioned that they received a call from a neighbor. They tried calling the intercom too, but no response. So they hurriedly called the paramedics for help instead. When the ambulance arrived and rang the intercom again, my husband finally answered, surprising them. They wondered why my husband, who should have been home, wasn't the one to report it despite the fact that Diana collapsed at the front door. How could he not notice the repeated calls? Wait a minute. Something is fishy. Oh, by the way, the number you called from in an ambulance was different from usual. Oh, I forgot because I was in a rush. I see. I smiled as I held my daughter close, ready to head home. She seems tired from the fever and was already dozing off. Thank goodness. For her, it's best to just let her sleep. Fortunately, my mother should be finished with her part-time job by now. Maybe she can help look after my daughter for a bit. There's something that needs to be resolved, no matter what. I hurriedly called my mother, ignored my husband, paid the bill, and headed for the parking lot.
Oh, wait! Don't go home yet!
My husband chased after me with a troubled expression, but I ignored him. Seriously, why would he say not to go home when our daughter has a fever? Something is really fishy. I took only my daughter in the car and left my husband stranded at the hospital. Returning home, my mother, who had rushed over, was waiting at the front door with a worried expression. Is Diana okay? Sorry, but could you look after her for a bit? My husband's affair partner is in this house. Huh? My mother exclaimed, surprised, but then said, If that's the case, Make sure to solely deal with it. Thank you, Mom. Diana, sorry, but just stay with Grandma for a bit. I entered the house quietly with my mother and daughter. My mother went to Diana's room, still holding her, while I began my search. Apparently, my husband left not just his phone, but also his wallet. If he can't use a taxi, it will take about an hour to walk from the hospital. If my hunch is correct, there should still be evidence of the affair here. I have to find it before my husband returns. However, there is no suspicious person inside. She's probably hiding somewhere. I followed my intuition and headed to the bedroom, touching the locked closet door in front of me. As I thought, I don't remember closing it. A woman's tearful voice stopped abruptly, and I straightened up with a gasp. "You're his affair partner?" I asked, and she confessed everything. The woman's name is Maddie. She met my husband at a mixer-like event for married people. Maddie fell for my husband, who was unaware it was a mixer, and admitted to making the first move. Initially reluctant, my husband gradually warmed up after drinking, and they eventually began an affair. With the pandemic, it became difficult for them to meet after work, and they even broke up once. But my husband contacted her around the end of our daughter's summer vacation, asking to meet at our house. Moreover, my husband apparently took the day off today. A meeting, huh? It's all lies. He was in the middle of an affair when he heard the intercom at the time. Although he ignored the intercom at first, he heard the paramedics and emergency personnel shouting at the intercom, so he hastily got dressed and left. In his panic, my husband ended up hiding Maddie here, locking her in the closet, so Maddie couldn't escape. At least let her go, and you could have erased all traces of the affair. I thought my husband was a fool, but this explained his abnormal behavior. In short, the frequent changing of clothes was to mask the smell of other women, and he didn't notice the intercom or my calls because he was preoccupied. I used to think I could forgive a one-time affair, but if my husband is willing to endanger our daughter, then I'm done with him. After a while, the intercom rang. On the monitor, my husband, who must have hurried home, was asking me to open the door since he didn't have the keys. I pulled Maddie and opened the front door. At that moment, my husband's face paled. "Sorry, I told her."
Chelsea, this is...
It would be useless to say anything. I already heard everything from her. As I said that, my husband accused Maddie.
What did you tell her?
Normally, people would think, you just got caught by your wife, you know. There's no way the cheating partner can't be questioned, right? I said, "I'm sorry." My husband looked troubled.
Why did you apologize and spill the beans?
That's not the point. If you hadn't locked Maddie in the closet, things might have gone smoother, huh? It's your own fault. My husband couldn't retort to my words and hung his head low. Okay then, here's your phone and wallet. I handed them to my husband briskly.
What's going on?
I ignored my husband's query, and I pushed Maddie towards him. Well, thanks for everything until now. About the divorce papers and alimony, we'll talk later. It's done. I wish you both happiness.
Huh? Wait! Please, Chelsea, I will apologize properly, so let me in.
No way. Not inside the house. It's disgusting to be cheated on, but today, Diana's not feeling well, so until the property division and procedures are done, I will stay here or at my parents'. You're leaving, so don't make any unreasonable demands.
You heard everything already, didn't you? Maddie is also married, isn't that great?
Well, that is, if you get along well with her husband.
So goodbye now.
I smiled and closed the front door. I felt like I heard my husband dying scream, but I ignored it. Afterward, my husband repeatedly begged for reconsideration, having broken up with the affair partner. But I didn't accept, seeing him as a pest. I demanded alimony from him, and Maddie's husband also sought compensation. Maddie didn't love my husband so much to divorce, but chose to mend her relationship with her own husband instead. Maddie's husband, however, couldn't forgive his wife being taken by another man, so they continued the farce of marriage. It seemed my husband didn't really love Maddie that much after all, because it was me he truly cared for. For him, being abandoned by both his wife and the affair partner made him fear women. It's not just about never cheating again, but possibly never being with a woman again for him, making this a traumatic event. He seems to want to see his daughter, but Diana seems to understand what had happened that day as she grows, even though I haven't said anything. She has grown to dislike him, so she doesn't want to see him anymore. To him, this is very painful. Meanwhile, my daughter and I began living with my mother. It's close to our old home, which helps because my daughter doesn't have to change elementary schools, and I don't have to change workplaces either. My father was livid about my husband's affair. Meanwhile, my mother praised me for divorcing. Living with their granddaughter brings joy. They are grateful for the move and thanks me often. Ironically, divorce seems to have brought my parents closer. My daughter enjoys a time when my father helps with homework and my mother plays with her. She has become quite a grandpa's girl. They say children raised by grandparents turn out to be kind. I hope my daughter does too. The other day, my mother's birthday and Christmas fell on the same day, so we had a small party with the whole family. My mother and daughter baked the cake, and despite the clumsy decorations by my daughter, it added a sense of warmth. My father had once said he would be happy to have such moments with his family again, even when he gets older. I hope for such a future too, where we can all sit together at the dinner table and share a drink. For that, I said, "You got live long, Dad." He laughed and said,
"Leave it to me,"
when he mentioned walking my daughter down the aisle someday. My daughter didn't seem to fully grasp the meaning of walking down the aisle yet. "So let's walk together, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, and everyone." It might be a lively walk down the aisle, but that might be good too. I'm looking forward to a future where the whole family can always be happy. Despite everything that happened, that's how things stand these days.